Dear everyone, and welcome to today's live coding session for stage E. And as stated in the Slack announcement, we'll be taking um, introduction to some key Azure services today. And this is as a result of the fact that the stage E is actually mainly focused on Azure's services as a whole. So I actually wanted us to go the route of using Azure for machine learning processes. But on trying to do that, I realized that there are some issues that we have to overcome first. So I'm hoping we can do that for the next session. And if it's not possible, then probably you guys can do it to just check, keep watching sessions of next cohort to see how, or there are also quick start online that can be used to read on using Azure for machine learning and also today we'll just be doing a basic overview of all of the different services that you can have. There are quite a lot, there are quite a number of them. So I will just pick on a few of them and then give an explanation in detail. Some of the ones that I choose because there was, I think, LinkedIn performed a survey last year to try and ascertain because I think Microsoft is now the owner of Azure, LinkedIn, GitHub, and the rest. So they did the survey to try and ascertain the services that were used the most on their platform. So I think those are the services that I will try to like give a bit of explanation on the ones that are free because there are some that are not free and that we cannot do anything without having a paid subscription of sorts. And I think we also have issue of some people not being able to create an account or and I'm still trying to look into that. I've not really gotten a feedback again from someone, but all in all, I don't think it's a global issue as people have been able to add subscription to their accounts actually. So without saying much, so these are probably when you log into your Azure, this is what we call the Azure portal. So the Azure portal is like the home page of Microsoft Azure. It is the place where you see a list of all your different services that you have available and all the list of different services that you can utilize on the platform. So um, the before I go into other stuff, you can just see this button here. This button here is a way for you to have a cloud shell. So it is basically you trying to use because you don't want to have the issue of using we use systems. So probably you are using Linux, you use terminal, or you are using so you just create a storage or something. So this is a way for you to have a PowerShell that is what Azure enabled already on the cloud. So you don't have to start saying that this takes away the fact that you have to authenticate your PowerShell. You don't have to re-authenticate your PowerShell to be able to use Azure. With this, your the PowerShell that is created in this terminal is authenticated already, and with that, you can start performing what cloud. You can start performing command line options, and you can even use the Azure command line to even here. So with this cloud shell, you're able to act as if you're working with a terminal on your local system. So you're able to perform terminal operations. But this PowerShell you get, and if you are someone that you're more comfortable with Linux and Bash, you can change it to Bash here. But as for Windows users like myself, we are more comfortable with PowerShell, and with this you can it is trying to connect to terminal. So it creates a terminal and it also has memory. So anything you do, so you see, you can use the Azure CLI here and you can do almost anything that can be done in a normal PowerShell here. So it does this now, you see, you automatically what authenticates to your Azure. And if I click on this place here, so if I click on this place, you see, I can see a list of different files. So I can upload files to this place. I can click on this yeah, I think exactly. I can upload files from my local system here. So I can even work with Python files. I can work with JavaScript files, even do installation of some of those tools. It is not as you get, it will not be as in-depth as it is on your local system, but it gives you quite a lot of functionality and it helps you not having to have issue of access key and stuff like that because when you are on this PowerShell, you know that whatever it is they are doing, you are sure that you are what authenticated to do it, because you are creating the PowerShell in your own account, and you can just detach it and put it on another page where it will be on a page on its own, and you can see things that you are doing with command line, actions that are performing with the command line. You can see them being what affected with the GUI tool. So this is the PowerShell. You can also use the Bash version. If I come here and I want to switch to Bash in the Cloud Shell, that's where you see people that are. How did I bring the PowerShell out? Okay, I'll do that again. Probably you were not in here. So if I close this, the PowerShell, this is it. It is this button. It is called the Cloud Shell. So this cloud button here, if you just click on it, the PowerShell is given to you automatically. So people that were here when we started, you see that it's actually, you see, I think every time there's a way for you to make it not say this every time you bring it up, but it is showing you that every time you bring this up, it is what authenticating to Azure, and it is building your Azure drive. So there's a drive. I think I'll try to show us the drive later, where all of the tools that you are working with on this PowerShell, there's a drive where all of those are kept. So anytime you restart, so if I exit now or log out or something, or I lose my internet connection and I come back, the PowerShell is able to what save. You get the PowerShell is able to save all of the things that are on the drive, you get, and I can just what it restores those memories back to me, just like it would on what on your normal system. So that was how I brought out the PowerShell. I think if you click on it again, it takes it off. Once you bring it, it brings it back. So that's where it is, and you can just read more about it. So with this now, anytime you say AZ, you say, I think once because this was, I think there was something I did one of the last times, and I think for you guys task also, this is also what you'll be using. So it remembers that I once did a operation that required this, and if I just press tab or something or forward, it just gives me all of those options and write it out. So now if I write AZ is what is recognized. It will bring out the AZ option. I don't think I have Azure installed on my local system. So if I just type AZ in my own PowerShell locally, it will give me what an error that it doesn't recognize what AZ is. So if I come here and click on Bash, and this is just for people that are what more comfortable with sorry, this is for people that are more comfortable with Linux terminal, that are more comfortable with Linux commands. So if you come here and type AZ also, you also have what your Azure. You see that the way it responded here is a little bit different, because this is what for Bash, and also that is it, a command line tool that allows you to be able to. So anytime you are taking quick starts or tutorials online and you want to like test them out, you can just have a tab that does it, because each of those tutorials will tell you how to do it with the command line tool. Will tell you how to do it with your Azure portal, and they also tell you how to do it with, let's say, a Python SDK and stuff like that. So instead of you to skip navigating GUI, because there are more functionalities that your terminal, your command line tool gives you than what the portal and visual tool will give you. So it gives you more flexibility, and it makes you do complete things faster. So instead of you to start using the portal and navigating, you can just be on the page where you want to be, and just what perform all of those tools using the command line options that they are giving to you. So that is that for this. So if anybody has any more questions, or you're not telling anything, just drop it on the chat, like or okay, while you did. Thank you for that. So that is that on that. So if I come here and click on more services, so this is where you see a list of all of the different services that are provided by Microsoft Azure. Exactly. So they even also try to like categorize them in a way so you will not be boggled down. So we have the AI services, their analytic services, there are services that deal with compute, there are services that deal with containers, there are services that deal with databases, DevOps practices. So this is probably where you guys be interfacing a lot. And according to the survey that was performed last year, Azure DevOps was the most used service on Azure. So it shows the fact that most companies are trying to include the DevOps practices into their cloud-enabled environment. We see a lot of companies trying to migrate from on-premises cloud to cloud, or companies trying to perform hybrid cloud infrastructure and stuff like that. So Azure DevOps was the most, and Azure DevOps is not just one thing, it is a list of different services that we are seeing here. And it was one of the most, like the number one that came out as the most useful on the survey that LinkedIn performed as at the end of last year. So we also have general things. So, and these are also, like I just said now, hybrid. So for people that, let's say you are working in a company where they used to have on-premises cloud, but they want to migrate to they want to migrate to a cloud-enabled development or an hybrid development. So this enables them to be able to what, these are where you find most of the tools that you need. And the other place that we have is what, identity. So this deals with identity management, this integration, Internet of Things. So Internet of Things, I think, is a popular term. Everybody knows about it. Just smart homes, smart devices, and stuff like that. And this management and government. So there are quite a lot of services that these are also the monitoring tools, networking tools. It's quite a lot. I'm just trying to, like, I want us to see all of. So we have security, storage, web and mobile, app services. I think app services, exactly these app services that we used the last time to deploy something from DevOps. So this is where that is, and that's all of the criteria. At least according to Microsoft, that's all of the criteria that they feel that, okay, most of the services that they are provided, this is the criteria that they feel that most of them are what have that most of them are what fall into, at least for them to be, for anyone to be able to perform cloud operations successfully. So this is probably the part that is gaining a lot more recognition in recent times, because people are doing a lot of AI stuff now and no code AI tools and stuff like that. So I actually wanted us to use all of this. I wanted us to have we'll use the Azure machine learning, have a studio and stuff like that, but something came up and I was not able to navigate it like I did for the Azure DevOps. Not like navigate as in lack of technical skills, but navigate as in the availability of that resource for us to use, because these things are quite expensive and it's not really making sense paying for it for just 1 hour and stuff like that. So the last time for the Azure DevOps, there was a way that I requested for us to have free computer, and we were granted that request, but unfortunately the request was not granted to us this time around. So that's all of the quite exhaustive of tools. So when you click on all of the services, you can see what the services. So you can see the favorites. So favorite services are the ones that at least people are using very well, and these are the recommended services. So these are just basically the normal things that people do. So I will try to talk on the number of the services I want to speak on. Actually, they are how many in number? I think they're up to 10 or thereabouts, the ones that I want us to focus on. But I don't know if time will permit us, but I will talk on at least the most important ones. So anywhere we stop, we'll just pick up again. But I doubt you guys can just read up on all of these services. And it's not sorry, apologies. It's not every service that we'll use. You get, so each service is tailored to exactly what we need to use them for. So there are services that I've never interfaced with before in my life. There are services that I might never even use until the time that need call for them. You get, so it's not something that you just try to read. So there are also Azure certifications also, I think. And with Azure certifications, they also talk on key services. They will not talk about every service they have. They just talk on key services that are needed to be known by a person. You get, so once you know all of these key services, you can do almost everything you need to do. So expect when these specialized situations come up, and when they come up with these specialized situations, you are able to what you are able to when these specialized situations come up, you're able to navigate all of those things that you need. So another thing that we have, so as I was saying, the services I want to talk about, the first one, but we have spoken about Azure DevOps and we have used it extensively, so I'm going to be skipping that. That was the first one. So the other one that we'll be talking about, the first one is Azure virtual machines. So I'll go back to the home page, and the easiest way to get services is just come here and search for them. So I'll just come here and type virtual machines. So this is the Azure virtual machines page, and you guys, if you remember correctly, I think I've always stated explicitly, I've spoken, there's no way I think for the whole of the duration of our LCS together that I've not said anything about virtual machines, in the fact that they enable us to be able to perform tasks that normally we should not be able to do on our computer. So they give us a way to have another operating system, or a abridged operating system on our own local computer. So I think when we're talking about containers, I was trying to use the mechanism of virtual machines to explain containers and stuff like that. So according to LinkedIn, they said the Azure virtual machine was one of the most used tools. So I'm saying all of this. So when we get to the practical world, these are the tools that we need to interface with, and so that at least we have an idea of them now. So the Azure virtual machines basically is a way to create virtual machines. And like I said previously, a virtual machine is just basically you having another system, but in a remote location where you can be connected to at any time. So with a virtual machine, once you create a virtual machine here, so anywhere you log in on your Azure account, you can do what? Access that virtual machine. Even if you don't log into your Azure account, you can provision access keys. There are things we call access keys, and just like you provide provisioning a password, and there's also SSH option. So anybody with those access keys or those SSH options can just decide to connect to your virtual machine and does what? Do things on those that are meant to be done on that virtual machine. On that virtual machine, you can decide to put an operating system, entire operating system in. So let's say, for example, in the company, most of the most of the workers, they are using Windows, for example, or something. But there is plenty of people that they will need. I'm sorry, I just have a little bit of cough. So there are a set of people that they might need to be using Linux for some of their own specific tools, and the system accompanying systems, enable systems, you don't want to like probably touch the manufactured OS that they came with or something like that. So as the cloud provider, you can create a virtual machine for them where use that virtual machine that has Linux installed to do whatever it is that they want to do, and you provision access keys for them, and you are in charge of what? Maintaining that virtual machine. So it also helps you in the sense that if, let's say, any of those workers are accessing it at the time they are not meant to access it, they are able to keep watch and stuff like that. So I'll try and create a virtual machine. So this is basically, we create a virtual machine and then you can interface with the virtual machine here. So the virtual machine I'll be creating it. But I think when I tried creating it, if I want to, because I have a resource book for us already, so we just name the virtual machine anything. But I don't think we'll be able to create it because we need to select an architecture, and the architecture, there's no architecture that is free of sorts. Sorry for that. So let me say LCS stage E, something like that. E. So exactly, we have to select the size, and these are all of the sizes that we have. So I think I tried also searching for, so this the selected image cannot work exactly with the SanDisk. So 64. If you want an AI configuration, so this is where you can select what any operating system that you like. So it's not necessarily an operating system. There are things that they are bare OS that they just do what it is. So we have also even the Windows 11 Pro, Windows 10 Pro, blah blah blah, blah, Unix, even there are Oracle, there are even some I think Google has his own OS, so Chrome OS and stuff like that. Almost anything that any operating system can be put in that virtual machine and then used to spin up a virtual machine, and then you select the size. So these are the size, 3 something per month. And the thing is that once you create one, the billing starts automatically on your added card already. So I think yes, and this was when I was telling you that this is the authentication type. So you can say that you want to use a password. So if you want to use a password, you select the username and password, like as if you want to log into your the normal system. That's how you connect. But you can also select the SSH publicly. So when you generate a key, so you generate a key pair, or you can have a key that is stored in Azure. So there's key management also, but it's better to generate a new pair and you give it a name, so you can save that key pair. So that key pair is what you use anytime you want to use SSH into that anytime you want to SSH into that virtual machines. There are tools online that make the connection. So you have to do it with command line. You just put in the link to the virtual machine and then provide the key that you need, and it allows you to be able to what it provides the connection to that virtual machine, and then you can start what performing actions on that virtual machine. So I think this is where I'll stop this today, because I think there used to be a free option, but I think I've exhausted those also. So that's the creation of a virtual machine. So after a virtual machine is created, there are a lot of options that you see where on how to discard this, how to basically manage those virtual machines and provision them. So you can make them public, you can make them private as usual, all of those stuff. You can add so when you create a virtual machine, you can now start provisioning things for that virtual machine. You can, let's say, for example, you can create internet boundaries for that virtual machine. So you can just do things as the cloud provider to make sure that the virtual machine does only what all it needs to do. So that's the first one. The second one that I'm going to be talking about is Azure Blob Storage. So to go there, I'll come here and go to storage accounts. If you guys remember correctly, I think we worked with AWS in our very first session where we used AWS S3 buckets for we use S3 bucket for static website. So this storage that I'm talking about now is basically the Azure equivalent of what of S3 bucket basically. So yeah, you just want storage account. So all of this here, they are all what storage accounts. So this was one I created very recently. So I'll just create a new one just for you guys to see how it works. So I'll create a new storage account. I'll try and upload a file there. So the storage is basically what AWS is, where you can upload files there and it also goes automatically. You get, so once you don't need to specify that, okay, I want to create something that is what. So LCS Winter Group storage account is stage, let me use stage E. Okay, cannot put capital letter, I'm not doing LCSE. So that will be the name of this storage bucket, blah blah blah. Just go to the next advanced. All of these are just factory defaults. There are things that you can change after creating them. Enable public access, blah blah blah. Next. So there are changes, the only option that you cannot change. So this tells you how you want to encrypt the details, the files that are stored in that storage account. If you remember correctly, I told you S3 is also encrypted. So they do this to enable that what people that are not meant to have access to your data will not be able to see it. So they scramble it in a way. So it's only when an authentic person that has access to that data, that's when they see the data the way it should be. But we don't need all of this for now. So the tags review, so just do a final checking to ensure that we have set everything the way it should be set, and if all the checks pass, and to tell us that we can then what create exactly. So we have been shown the create button, so we can create a new deployment. So this new storage account will be created. So in that new storage account, there are different there are like levels of storage in Microsoft Azure. It's not like S3 bucket where after you provision an S3 bucket, that's all you do. So in storage account, you can have containers, you can have blobs. So blobs are basically what we call the object. So the way they treat blobs is one of the most example of blobs. Like, okay, let me give you an example of what we have used blobs for in Amoye before when we were working is in a website creation, we can use storage blobs to store the profile image. You know, most websites now you need a profile image where you upload. So when this resource has been created, let me just go to the resource. So when the user uploads the image, so there has to be a place where that image is stored. You get, so that every time the page is refreshed, the same image that was uploaded by that person is going to be seen by that person. So what we used then was the Azure storage blob. So we created a blob for each user. So the name of each user's blob is their user ID. So anytime they create an image, anytime the user creates an image, anytime they upload an image, sorry, the image that they uploaded is put in the blob. That's if it was empty before, but if it was not empty before, we delete the previous image in the blob and put in their new image. So anytime the website that we were coming up with, anytime it reloads, anytime the person reloads their profile, all the website just has to do is it just calls the blob endpoint. You get. So this is something that can be done with S3 bucket also. So that's a very practical example. Like this is something that I've worked on personally before. So that's one of the examples of what storage on the cloud can be used for. Sorry. So that's what we use this for. So when you create, this is a storage account that has been created, and after the storage account has been created, you can see a lot of stuff here on the left-hand side that we can now work with. We can see the activity log, the tags, the diagnose and solve problem, the access control, IAM, storage browser, containers, and all of those stuff like that. Networking. So if you come here in this file share, this is a way for you to like share files from one storage account to another storage account. You get or different facilities. This is also storage browser. Storage browser gives you a way for you to be able to see all of the files that you have. Anytime you create a new storage, this is how all of this will be. So it's over time when you have been working with stuff. Over time, when I've been working with that storage account, that's when you start to see it having different other stuff. And another stuff you have is what Storage Explorer. But this one, it has been done that it has to be downloaded. Previously, you could open Storage Explorer in like another tab. So Storage Explorer just gives you like Windows File Explorer on the cloud for that your storage account. So you can like see a more visual way for you to see your stuff. So, but now before you can start keeping files in this place, yes, you have to create a container. So now, we can create a container. I can just create a container. Let me say container 1, something like this. So it is private. You can make it blob. So these are just like saying that okay, for this container now. So that you see what I'm trying to say. A container has a container is, you have to create a container to keep things called blobs in it. So those blobs is basically the files or basically the objects. Let me use the objects that are keeping inside it. So this access level now, if I had said that private, that means no access, only me can see it. But if I say blob, then that means anyone that has access to this container can also have access to this blob. So this is the access level you want if it is something that you are going to be working on. So this is the access. Let's say, for example, using it for the use case that I just cited, this is the access level that we want for us to have that kind of to create something like that. Where so the website is the one that the server will make that call to this container in this storage service. So it will get back the blobs, that's the pictures. Those blobs are seen as the pictures, and so you just create this blob, and after you create this blob, that's when you can now start seeing the options to create something exactly. So there's an automatic blob that is created. This is where your logs are kept. So inside this now, if I come into this container, see now that I can upload files. So if I click this upload option and I come here, so like you see, I can just browse for files, do something like that. I can just let me just work on some random files that I have here. Let me upload that. So that has been uploaded. Let me just upload another file again. Let me see if I can just get something. Okay, so this is an image. So let me upload this. So the first file I uploaded was the Python file. You can see that automatically this container is being updated at things are being uploaded to this blob. So you can see, and access here is hot. So what they mean by hot is that things are going to be accessed frequently. That's what they mean by hot. That okay, it is something that is hot in town. So the files they need are going to be accessed frequently. There will be frequent access. So it allows them to know that they don't try to regress this container in a way that it will not be easily accessible when it is meant to be accessed. That's that on that. So if I come back here to this exactly storage blob and I come here to this storage browser, you see now because the storage is still quite new, you see that all of this will still be showing. But if I come into here blob containers, you can see that the container that I created now is showing. If I click on this container here, you can see that the files that are uploaded are showing. So this is a way for you to just like what store files, and it's not even only for not only for not only for using it for website and stuff, you can also use it as archives or a place where people can store what sensitive data that you don't want it to get lost, or like people that you know how unreliable most of all of these our hardwares are nowadays. There's still a lot of people that just call me that their hard disk just got crashed or something like that, especially if they're using HDD. So this is a way for you to make sure that you have all of your files saved. And the thing is that most of it is free. This is like storage is one of the most free things on the cloud, because they know it is very essential. So it's only when you start storing big data that are quite large, that's when you start to pay. But storage, things like this, for example, all of these that I've done now, they are free. And for anyone that uses Azure, you can just use this as another means of what backing up your stuff. So that's what Azure storage service. So that's the equivalent to S3 that we spoke about that time. So another important one that we want to talk about is the Azure Active Directory. So you guys also interface with this, but in one of your labs, because this is what will enable us to be able to what. So I'm just going to click on Active Directory as it's very close by here. So it's what will enable us to be able to work with you guys. So it is a way for you to undo all the access to this Azure account. So with Active Directory, you can start to segregate users. You can segregate subscription accounts. You can do it. So you can see users now. So with Active Directory now, it's a way for you to say that, okay, you think of it as there's a landlord, and then you can start having different caretakers, basically. So the organization, definitely the organization has to let's say the organization has to create its own Azure account, for example, but you're the cloud provider. So your own accounts might not be the same as the organization account. Let's say you might be hired later or something. So there has to be a way for you to be able to have access to also what the organization account is doing. You don't want to be using your own account to be provisioning the organization cloud platform. So this is basically where you are going to. Yes, is this yes, I am identity access management, exactly, AWS IAM. So this is Azure's equivalent to that. They call it Azure Active Directory. So this is where you manage access to your account. So it allows you to be able to grant the needed control to different people. So with this now, you just create a new key. You can use password as said before. You can also use key access. So, but what the standard in our world now is to use access keys. So with access keys, those access keys, you will not give them the kind of permission that they need to have. So I can just create a new user here. So if I create a new user, new user is what's going to be, you can create a new user in this organization. So if a new user is created in this organization, you just have to do what you're the one that will create all of this and then just give it to the new user, you get. But if the new user is outside the organization, if let's say the organization wants you to be using your own account, but they just want you to have access to theirs, or let's say you as a cloud developer want someone that is working that needs, for example, now I was not the one managing the Azure cloud on the project I told you that we worked on. It was another of our employees. So the employee that was working on it just gave me access using this kind of stuff. He created an access key for me to be able to just work with the container that was created. So working with that container now just created this access from this Active Directory and gave me access to that container. And immediately I was done, you can revoke the access. So it gives you a way to an overview of, just as the name is not really as descriptive as that of AWS, but it's basically the identity access management tool, where you can access who has access to what and what each person have access to, you get. So that's what this tool here does. And the last thing we'll be talking about for today is Azure, the Azure Cosmos database. I would have actually liked to work a bit on this a lot, because like that was why I'm saying that it's quite painful for the fact that we cannot, because we would have also used this to do a pipeline from fetching data to working with machine learning and then deploying the machine learning process using Azure. So what Azure Cosmos Database gives you a way for us to what? Okay, you can see that relation service I searched for it before. It gives us a way for us to manage databases, different databases. So if I say I want to create a new stuff now, you see a list of different things that can be created. So you might want to work with, let's say you want to work with Postgres, or you want to work with SQL data, or you want to work with NoSQL or MongoDB, any kind of data that it is. You can even bring external ones also to have that kind of support. So you create a type of API that allows you to be able to manage them in a simpler surface. So it helps you to abstract some of those tedious processes that databases normally have, like connection. So your database will always be available. And your database will also like some of those features that I can, like if you can remember, like I said S3 has those 99.9% availability and stuff. It helps you replicate your database in multiple locations. So every time you need to request data from a database, it is available. And it also helps you make searching easier and indexing for the databases. So I will not be able to create any of this because like the prices are way too high and stuff like that. You can see. So there's no way for me to create this. So these were stuff that I was trying to like put in place before we had this session, but I was not able to do that. So we can also talk about logic apps. So everything that I've stated, the Active Directory, virtual machines, what do you talk about again? Storage accounts, logic apps, and this and so. Logic app is is a very popular tool. Why? Because it integrates nicely with other Microsoft tools. It is what they use to create, like it is a no-code tool in the way they call it. Why they call them no-code is that you write little to no code. You write very minimal code because they give you a way to automate things. So let's say, for example, in the business, they want a pipeline that does what? It monitors tweets. So when you get a tweet, let's say a tweet about the company, it wants that tweet to sentiment analysis. And based on the sentiment analysis, I don't know if you understand sentiment analysis, but it's an AI task of trying to know if a given piece of text is positive or negative, the tone that the text implies. So based on the result of the sentiment analysis, it then triggers if that tweet should be made known to the head of a department or to the marketing people or something. Basically, you get. So this logic app is what we use to create some of those stuff. So this thing can integrate seamlessly with Twitter and integrate seamlessly with Microsoft apps like Microsoft 365 and integrate seamlessly with, there are also things that they call Microsoft Power Apps. Microsoft Power Apps is actually the home of no-code tools. It's something that you guys can check out later, Microsoft Power Apps. So every tool listed in Microsoft Power Apps does not require code. Everything is GUI, design specific, and it does the work that is meant to do and can be used to automate. So Logic App is the Microsoft Azure implementation of that, because with Logic App, you can automate some of these tasks that need to be done. So you can automate email sending. So let's say every week you have to send email to some of them staff and employees, they will be sent. So these are one of the things. I think the reason why this has gained so much popularity last year is because most companies are going digital now, and not everyone has that coding, know-how. So using no code apps has also been a way for people to be able to like work so much and make their stuff go digital. So that's basically all we'll be doing for today in terms of Microsoft. So I think Microsoft has a lot of let's say if I search for anything now, let's say let me search for blobs, for example. So there's something that they have, this place that they call documentation is a way for them to teach people stuff. So everything about Microsoft Azure, there's a lot of, I don't think there's something that you want to do on Microsoft Azure that they have not thought of. And okay, let me rephrase it this way. I don't think there's a service that you want to use that they have not given an example of how to do it, if you get what I'm trying to say. So there's a lot of documentation of how to use Azure training. So there's a lot of documentation on how to use those services, example cases of what you want to do, and how there's even this. So when you come to Microsoft the training, they even have an Microsoft AI skills channel where they will give you this, all of this in that page. They will give you pseudo access, in the sense that they'll give you time-based access to be able to practice what it is that you have done. So you can check it out if you have the time to just try and learn all of these things, and they'll give you certificate for them. And what I wanted to show us mainly is this documentation. So this documentation helps us to just have a brief overview of what everything is. So you can Power Apps. This was what I was talking about. Power Apps. Then this is .NET, and but this is Azure. This is the Azure documentation. So with Azure documentation, everything that you need to do on Azure, every service, everything that you need to perform. Once you just go online and search for the Microsoft tutorial for that particular thing, you can do what, customize it to what your own liking. So so we have come to the end of today's live coding session. I hope I've been able to show you guys something and at least give you a short but at least sort of enlightening introduction to Microsoft Azure, and you guys can see all of the tools and stuff. So I'll try to look for, I want us to do something practical, probably not using the portal. We can make use of the console the next time. So I'll try to look for something practical that we'll do next session, and I'll communicate to us what that is. I wanted us to just do a basic deployment, but if what comes to worse, what we are going to do is materials for Terraform. Oh, for Terraform. Okay, no problem. I will do that. But while we are on this, you can just there's the if it does come HashiCorp documentation, or let me just put tutorial. All of these big stuff, exactly, they have their learn platform where that's like probably the best material that you ever need. You need, because they start from the basic for to how do you want to get there. So this is all of what they have. So we are just going to go with what Terraform. So we are going to get started. So do you want to use Terraform for AWS? I think we are using it for Azure, Docker and stuff like that. So let's get started with Terraform for AWS. So they have all of this. So I think you can start with all of this here that I've shown you. So after this, then I'll try to look for a book that I used one time on Terraform and see if it is still available for download, and then send the link for you guys to be able to use it and work with it also. But most times the best tutorial is actually the documentation of that developer also, because they have a lot of tutorials. And if you have, as long as you know what is needed for that stuff, Terraform now, what I wanted to say before was, as long as you know the language that they support. Let's say, for example, if you know Python with Azure, you're good to go, because almost everything they do, there's a Python SDK for it. But Terraform does not have that. But with Terraform, or once you can just use your basic programming skills, even if you don't have programming skills before, it is just a basic syntax. The Terraform does not use more than 3 files. I think the main.tf, variables.tf, and input.tf. With that, you're good to go. So once you go, we get started with Azure. You can see how to install Terraform. You build an infrastructure with all of these examples are here, and Terraform is easy, is free to use. What you just need to do is to have a working AWS and a working Azure account that you can do with it. Yeah, I think that answered that question, no problem. So I will communicate to us what the it will be next week Tuesday as usual. We'll communicate the time and what the topic will be. So if there's no other question, I think we can all say goodbye for today, and I wish you guys a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.